Boatworks today is sponsored by Total Boat and Alexial Yacht Coatings, as well as supported by the generosity from the beautiful folks over on Patreon. Thank you so much. So, good morning, everybody. Well, you know, I suppose it could be afternoon or evening. So, welcome back, everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic week. My name is Andy with Boatworks. Today in this video, I'm going to be going over some of the updates as far as where things are at with the new shop build, or out build, depending on how you want to look at this. It's a storage building. There's nothing there, but we got to turn it into a four-season workshop. Now, in addition to that, I also kind of want to go through some of the kind of the thought process that I'm trying to figure out as far as how to make this building as good as I can the first shot. You know, I don't want to have to, go through all this work and then say 6 months or a year later saying, I really wish I would have done something a little bit different here. So let me kind of show you where things are at with the utilities, and then we'll jump into the meat of this video. So this is one of the borders on our property. If you're not familiar, I guess as far as what's been going on the past couple of months, we just relocated. We moved to Michigan, and we're in the process of, trying to get a new shop up and running. Now, it's a bit of an access road. I think this was put in when the house was originally being built, 8, 9, 10 years ago. But this is going to come into play here in a second when I get up to the other end. Now, this is on the main road. There is natural gas and electric already here. Now, this is that same road, except this is from the top side. Now, what our thought is, because there's utility along that road right down there, we're looking at basically having the electric and the gas. Since this already kind of has somewhat of a road, I think it'd be easy for Excel Energy to come in and do their trenching, but run it, or tap it from the road, run it up this little access fire lane, way, road, whatever you want to call it. A little overgrown, but I think it could be turned into a road fairly easily. But have it come up through here, and then up this road, and then the shop is right up. I think you can kind of see the reflection of the roof. But then have it come up the side of this road and then up to the shop. Now, I don't know that I want to really see what that bill is going to cost. By my chicken scratch, I suspect to have the gas and the electric run up 600 feet, brought up to the building, and then somehow or somewhere tapped into the side. I suspect that's going to be around, ouch, like a $8,000 to $10,000 thing. A little bit more than what I was hoping for, but I don't know for sure. All the paperwork is going to be submitted to Excel, and hopefully they're not going to drag their feet and take forever to, I guess, to get somebody out here and actually approve the site plan. But we shall see. Now, there's no getting around that. This has got to get done because, well, with building prices being what they are, I'm not building anything new. I'm going to be using what I've got. Now, this shop, it is 30 by 60. In the past, I wasn't quite exactly sure what the footprint of it was, but I've gone ahead and rolled out the, I guess, the measuring wheel thing. It is a 30 wide by 60 deep. Now, this is smaller than my shop that I had in Wisconsin. The old shop was 42 by 54. This is 30 by 16. So this is, square footage wise, it's a bit smaller, which is fine. That's going to work out perfectly fine for what it is I need. It's a great space, but because it is smaller, I'm going to have to kind of figure out different ways to make the space more efficient and work for me, given, the coming from the space that I'm used to and the amount of crap that I'm got to try and fit in here. And just to get some of the technical stuff out of the way, this storage room here, this is 32 feet deep and 10 feet wide, and, well, pretty much a bare structure to do whatever I need in here. And as far as what I need this space to do, well, that is the million-dollar question. It's kind of really what I wanted to kind of focus on for this video. Now, planning out a shop is, I would say, almost as stressful as actually planning out a new house. For the most part, you really only get one shot at this, or at least I am. Now, this is going to be my second shop build, but, there are some differences compared to the first, and some things that I want to improve on. There's a lot of things that I did right in the first shop, and a lot of things that I thought they sounded good in theory, and I thought they were going to work out well, but they just ended up being way underutilized, or just it didn't really make sense. It sounded good at the time, but in time, it kind of proved to be kind of a waste. Now, when I'm going through the talking points here, I'm going to be talking about things that are specific, to me. Things that are important to me that I need this building to do. Now, this is going to vary from person to person because it's really going to make a big difference as far as how you intend to use your space. Now, a lot of the topics I'm going to be talking about here, they are applicable, or things that you should be thinking about anyways, regardless of how you're going to be using it. But, for example, if you're going to be using a shop that's going to be doing repair work versus finishing work. Now, those are two very, very different things. Now, because of that, obviously, you're going to need different space requirements. You're going to need, different things in the building as far as air quality and power, tools, dust collection, how are you going to manage fumes and that kind of thing. That's going to be more specific towards finishing, but repair work tends to be very messy, very dusty, so you're going to need to have a very good dust collection. Finish work tends to be more on the fume side. Now, not always. I mean, these are just kind of like general things, but because repair work can also be awfully stinky, as we all know. But so repair work versus finish work. Electrical versus, if someone is coming in setting up a small shop, they're going to be doing detailing. Well, you're not going to need anywhere near as much space for tools or storage or that kind of thing. So these are all things that what I'm going to be covering here. These are all things that are going to be applicable in many different situations, but I'm going to be focusing specifically on what I'm going to be looking to get out of this building for myself. Now, for the last 8 or 9 years that I've been making these videos, I've shown almost every square inch of the old shop. And there's a lot of things there that I think, even to this day, that I think I did right. But there's a lot of things that, could use some improvement. So what I'm going to be talking about here is a little bit of a kind of a love-hate. Things that I really like that I want to carry over and, I guess, implement into this new space. And things that, I didn't quite hit the bar that I was hoping for, that I want to improve on and make a little bit better for this space. Since it is smaller, I need to make it more efficient. Now, in no particular order, I'm going to be going over some details or topics that are going to be important to me in this space. But to be quite honest, these are things that anybody that's looking to build out some kind of a workshop, it doesn't matter how big or how small, it doesn't matter. It could be a closet, all right? But these are things that, should be, I guess, given some consideration and thought about before you actually start taking steps to implement whatever plan it is you're putting together. Now, for me, first and foremost, one thing that is very, very important is going to be air quality. For obvious reasons, right? I mean, anytime you're dealing with fiberglass, dusty situations, fumes from, resins, that kind of thing, air quality, at least for me, I'm getting older, I'm certainly not getting any younger, unfortunately. I want to make sure I'm taking as good a care about my health as I can. Now, looking at the old shop, as far as air quality there, dealing with fumes, I would give that a solid 10. I had some equipment in place there that really, every 4 minutes I could have every square inch or cubic inch of air in that building refreshed. So I had a large air makeup system as well as 2 large exhaust fans on the back. Now, when everything was up and running, I think it was pushing somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 cubic feet per minute heated. And that was great. I mean, it was essentially somewhat like a mini spray booth. Not quite, but it was close. Like I said, every 3, 4, 5 minutes, 100% of the air in that building was exchanged. Now for spraying, it was beautiful. Whenever I was working with resins or things that had a very strong smell to them, it was beautiful. The downside of that is that system was also very expensive. I want to say the air makeup system alone installed was around $15,000 or $16,000, and that was 8, 9, maybe even 10 years ago. I don't even want to know what it would cost now. Well, most likely now it's probably not even available because, well, we all know what's been going on the past year and a half. Now, for fumes, again, I'd give that a solid 10. Now, where it fell short big time was on actual dust collection, actually managing the dust from the sanding and everything else. For that, honestly, I tried my best, as far as, using tools that did a good job at collecting dust at the source, but, they can only do so much. And so dust collection there, I'm going to give that about maybe a 5 or a 6. There's definitely some room for improvement there, which I'm going to touch on a little bit more here, a little bit further down in this video. Now, as far as lighting at the old shop sucked. I'm not going to name brands, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but the lights that I used in that shop when I built it in the old shop, they sucked. I mean, the color that they put out when they worked was great. It was good, true color. And that's important. For me, that's very important. If you're doing any kind of color matching with gel coats or paints, you want to see the true colors of what it is that you're working with. In that respect, they did very well. But even though I had someone go through and kind of do a calculation as far as how many lights I need and all that other good stuff, it wasn't very well lit. And also the quality of the ballasts and the lights themselves, they just didn't last. I'd say, well, right now, half of the lights in the shop are inoperable, and it's in the ballast, because I've gone through and I've replaced all the bulbs. It didn't make a bit of difference. So the ballasts, they lasted 100%, maybe a year, and then every year I lost another, say, 10-20% of them. So right now I'm running at 50%, and the way that those were mounted, I mean, they're up almost 20 feet off the floor. So it's not, you know, a real simple job to get up there and, you know, swap bulbs out, or even the ballast. I mean, you're setting up scaffolding, or you're running one of those little portable man lift things. When you've got all your crap in your shop is, you know, running, you can't really do that because you don't have the floor space. So one thing that I am going to change and improve on in here is, you know, I'm going to be using LEDs, high output LEDs, true color. I want to say the true color spectrum is like around what, 45,000 Kelvin or 5,000 Kelvin, something like that. I'll talk to the guys that actually do this, but it's going to be a true natural light, but it's going to be LEDs, and they're going to actually be commercial quality. I'm going to pay a little bit more for it, and I thought the other ones were commercial quality as well, but well, obviously not. Now, storage, or lack thereof, that's something that can literally make or break a shop. Now, back in the old place, storage, again, some things I thought I nailed, and other things I completely missed it all together. Now, when I'm looking for storage, I guess I'm looking for different types of storage. So for one, it's going to be for, you know, hazardous materials. At the old shop, I currently do not have a quote-unquote good way of storing hazardous materials, and by that I'm referring to your paints, you know, different resins, that kind of thing, thinners, reducers, catalysts, converters, that kind of deal. Technically, they should be in flammable-proof cabinets. I don't have any of those, and to be honest, I don't have the space to put anything like that. Right now, they're in a storage area. It's just kind of a bit of a catch-all, oversized closet for the most part, and it's just very inefficient. It's hard to find stuff. Things are stacked on top of each other. It's just far from ideal. So that's hazardous material storage. Also consumables, you know, things like mixing cups and sticks and Tyvek suits and sandpaper, that kind of thing. Again, I have a terrible storage you know, issue at the old shop in that regard. Here, I've got a lot of upstairs area, a mezzanine. I think that's what it is. Everybody was telling me that little, the fancy fancy little platform up there. I can utilize that space for a lot of, you know, things that are, well, obviously not hazardous materials. I suppose they could go up there as long as they're in a flammable cabinet. But I have a lot of options for storage room, as well as down in below here. Now, in that room there, I think the majority of the storage is going to happen in there, because I can close it off, it can be dust-free, and that would be a huge improvement over what I had in Herbster, or in Wisconsin. Basically, with everything sitting out, anytime I did something dusty or had some overspray, everything in there got coated, and that's just far from ideal. And the other type of storage that's going to be important to me is going to be just tools, stuff, right? So I've got a lot of hand tools. I also have a lot of, you know, large stationary tools. Now, stationary tools, I have no idea how I'm going to get all that fitted in here, because that was one problem that I ran into quite a bit at the old place, is that, you know, like my table saw and bandsaw, things that are kind of out front and center, they're not real easy to move. I mean, yeah, you can move them, but it's not, you know, a quick 30-second, get it out of the way, and, you know, so I can get something moved in and out of the building. That is something that I want to resolve here. Now, most likely what that's going to mean is that a lot of my woodworking stuff, hopefully this is still coming up on camera, but a lot of my woodworking stuff is most likely going to be in that far back corner. I can set it up there, and it can just stay there. Any boats that come in can then be set up forward of that. Now, that's still not ideal, and this is a work in progress, but I think that's going to be a decent solution. Now, as far as how much space that I actually have in there, actually I don't remember. Let me wheel it off. So now the space that I'm talking about here, it's basically from this corner over and then all the way back. That is roughly 32 by 18. Now for a woodwork shop, that is a great size. However, the compromise is that leaves me roughly 20, I'll do the math here, pop it up on the screen, but roughly, let's just say 28 feet from the door back to that area where I guess the woodworking area would begin. And 28-foot depth, depending on the boat that I'm working on, that may be adequate. Specifically with the Bertram that is a little bit on hold at the moment, 28 feet is not going to cut it. So I need to come up with a compromise as far as, you know, that woodworking space. Now, On that note here, something that I do need to, or that I want to, I guess, improve upon from the old shop is getting back to the dust control here. Now, the woodworking part, you know, it's sawdust, you know, and people kind of say, well, you know, sawdust isn't really such a big deal. Sawdust is kind of a big deal health-wise. And, you know, right now in Wisconsin, that shop, I don't have any really dedicated dust collection. I mean, I'm constantly moving a portable, crappy dust collector from tool to tool, and it's just, it sucks. You know, a lot of times I've got stuff on the floor. You can't easily get from point A to point B. Just not ideal. So going into this, what I want to try and do is put in a centralized dust collection. So like, what are those called? Like a cyclone separator, you know, kind of a thing. The two brands that I'm familiar with are going to be Oneida as well as Clearview. Now obviously they make machines that are going to be more than adequate for this space, but I want to get something like that set up for the dust collection on the woodworking tools, but also find a way to get that integrated up forward so that I can hook up some of my other tools when I'm grinding fiberglass, or at least set up some kind of a shield, or like, I don't know what you call it, like a catcher's mitt or some kind of a shield. So when I'm grinding, I can you know, angle my grinders and my sanders in a particular direction to shoot it, so that it just basically goes right into a dust collection chute and not in the air. Now on that note, one thing I want to make a big improvement on is going to be just overall workflow. Now the shop in Herbster, that actually left a lot to be desired. Now for example, let's just say, we'll touch on woodworking, right? So you bring in your rough lumber, you know, you bring it in the front door. You don't want your storage racks to be in the far back corner of your shop, so that you're carrying it, you know, through a bunch of stuff, probably hitting or knocking something off and breaking it. You want your storage rack to be up front and center. Now from there, you're going to jump into your processing. You want your tools like your joiner, your planer, bandsaw, that kind of thing. You want that to be close as well, and kind of work your way back towards more of your finishing tools like your table saws and anything else. That is not something that I had in place back at the old shop, and that's something I need to work on here. Now, kind of bringing this back into, say, Boatworks. We're working on boats, I guess. You know, obviously, you know, the boats are going to be set where they are, but I want the hand tools to be close. I want dust collection to be close. I don't want to have hoses and pipes and all this crap strung all over the place, because that's just messy. And a messy area is not a safe area. That's my motto coming in this. Everything has its place, and there's a place for everything. That's kind of what I'm trying to work through. Now, one thing that I just absolutely nailed at the other shop was outlets. Now, at the other shop, I had an outlet every 4 feet. They were a double, four double outlet, you know, what do you call those? 4 outlets every 4 feet. Exposed conduit in metal, and that was phenomenal. I had basically 110 wrapped all the way around the shop, and then on one wall I had a bunch of drops coming down that were wired for 220. That is something that I'm basically just going to duplicate here. You know, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to actually, depending on what I end up doing in the storage room, I don't know if that's going to be an actual workroom. That might actually work out well, if I can get a section of it, work out well to be like a clean finishing room, like for varnishing. I think that would work out pretty slick, to be honest. And one other thing I want to figure out in here is air supply, and by that I'm talking like an air compressor. Now I have a compressor at the old shop. It's woefully undersized for what it is that I need, and that's why I really don't ever use, well, I don't use air tools, and I don't really use the compressor all that often, because it just doesn't work real well. It's undersized, doesn't put out the CFM that I need, and it's just stupid loud. Now in here, what I would like to be able to do, maybe that, again, that room in there would be a good space for it. But I want to put it in kind of like a, not soundproof, but somewhat of a soundproof little closet, so that I can actually run it without, you know, blowing my ears off. It's a small detail, but I think that it's something that if I can actually get it set up correctly, something I would utilize a lot more, and in a lot of ways it might make things better and more efficient for me. But anyways, to wrap this up and kind of bring everything home here, some of the things that I don't have that I want to make sure that I can, in some form or fashion, implement into this building is I want a clean room. That is something that's on the top of my priority list. Within the top, I would say within the top 3. A clean room where I can do my mixing, I can do any varnishing if I have to, where I don't have to worry about dust and whatever just floating all over and ruining my finish. A clean room is going to be very, very important. Now, another thing that I would like to have is like a dedicated mixing area, because I work a lot with, you know, with epoxies, resins, you know, your fillers. You know, it'd be nice to have a dedicated, if nothing else, a dedicated cart where just everything is right there. And it's portable, I can wheel it around as needed. Now at the other shop, I've got fillers over in one area, epoxies are in another area, my polyester resins are in a completely other, separate space. It's just, I'm constantly I'm spending a lot of time walking, which is maybe why I go through, 2 pairs of shoes every year. But so I want a dedicated mixing station for doing my paints and my resins and that kind of thing. Another thing that would be very, very nice would be to actually have a dedicated fabric rack. Now, I was talking with my daughter, she's like, what's a fabric rack? You don't do any sewing. Obviously, I'm talking about fiberglass. So, and they make these, I think time and cost-wise, it's probably just gonna be more efficient to just buy something that's pre-made. But a nice rack that can have basically 2, 3, I generally only use 2, maybe 3 types of fiberglass. But something where the rolls are right there, easily accessible, just basically peel it off, cut it, and away I go. Right now, it's strung between a pipe that's sitting on top of some scaffolding. The other rolls are kind of rolled up, stuck in a corner. It's just far from ideal. So a dedicated fabric rack would be awesome. And something else that I kind of talked about here just a minute ago would be a centralized dust collection. You know, again, the 2 brands are going to be like Oneida or Clearview. Either one I think would suit my needs very, very well. But that's something that's, I'm going to say that's probably my #1 thing of things that I want to get in this new space that I don't currently have. I hate dust, and I also hate cleaning. So if I can collect everything right at the source and not have and minimize my cleaning, that's just a win-win as far as I'm concerned. So on that note, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. A lot of times, I don't know if this video was more help for you or if it was for me. You know, a lot of times I do my best problem solving, just kind of thinking out loud and talking about it, bouncing ideas off of people. So this community here has always been very, very good for offering suggestions and help. So maybe that's kind of what I'm looking more so to get out of, more so than anything to get out of this video is just to get some more feedback from you, because by no means am I an expert on this. I'm trying to fumble my way through this just like many of you have. So, but right now, I guess that's kind of where I'm at. If you have any ideas or thoughts or suggestions, leave those down below in the comment section. And of course, my battery dies. I really need to get my regular equipment here, but I gotta get power set up first. On that note, I think this is gonna be a good place to wrap this up. So as always, I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, please hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Thank you in advance. That does make a big difference. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, right now, again, I'm kind of spitballing here, kind of just talking out loud, trying to come up with the best plan I can for this space. If you have any suggestions, please leave those down below in the comments. And yeah, as always, so thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. And I will see you again next week. And this time I will actually see you next week. I'm gonna be getting back on my normal schedule now. So yeah, time to start rocking and rolling and get things done. So have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you then.
This has been a Boatworks Today. The Jackson.